Greetings, ladies and gents, and welcome to this latest edition of Tales from Outer Space, where I take stories from across the internet and read them for your entertainment. This particular story is called When You Choose Wrong, written by AdmiralStarNight. General Talep Fakana looked out over the city, pointing at the ground with worry. It was quiet, too quiet. The Snan's empire wasn't vast, but it was well kept. The Federal United Alliance was willing to look the other way when they decided to go after other planets if they only targeted planets and races outside of the FUA. Their strikes were precise and devastating, and they always made sure to integrate their new captures well before their next step in expansion. The planet he stood on was Ka'ala, the home planet of the Ka'lai, the current newest race to the interstellar scene. Their planet was gorgeous, with vast forests, rolling mountains, and cities that even to the Snan were elegant. They had, of course, been approached by the FUA, and the Ka'lai rejected them, not giving a reason beyond the goddess Ka would not wish us to. So they had waited patiently when it seemed like no one else was moving in. The Snan had struck, with General Fakana at the head of the troops as they blew through the meager spacecraft in orbit and occupied the planet. That had been around a planetary year ago, and while the Ka'lai were angry, they hadn't put up much of a fight, probably another tenet of their silly religious views, but one that had favored Fakana's invasion and so far his steps to start integration into the Empire. But that brought him back to today, too quiet. It was getting dark out as the sun set over the distant hill. Normally at this time he heard the chimes of the car bells even up here. The goddess Ka always required the bells to know where to return the sunlight to the next day, the Ka'lai had said. Silly tradition, but one never missed. And yet it was quiet. If there were bells ringing, they were not ringing the big ones in their churches. You know, it says that in the Ka'lai religious text that if Ka doesn't bring back the sunlight, it means she's sending the stars instead. Fakana whipped around, fur bristling at the unfamiliar voice in his office. No one should have been able to get in there without going through the many guards and personnel occupying the central government tower he used for his base. He was surprised by the thing he saw. It didn't look quite real. A hazy, colorful figure standing on two legs with two arms and no facial features stood near the desk, facing his direction, but the lack of any sort of eyes made it hard to see where it was looking. "Who are you, and what are you doing in my office?" he growled, reaching his arm down to pull the sidearm free from its holster. "No need for such things. I am a hologram. I mean you no harm." The colorful figure leaned on his desk. "In fact, I am very curious about you and how you react." "That means nothing. Tell me who you are, or you will be arrested." The hologram waved an arm in a dismissive manner as it walked over to the door to the balcony outside. "Can't arrest a hologram. Huey, what is this settlement called?" The Snan general scowled, but trotted over to open the balcony door and step out into the cool night air. "This is Administrative City Ka'lai 1, first city I captured upon taking the planet." "A terrible name. Why not call it the city that rests on the plains? What the natives called it." Fakana snorted. "They lost the war. They don't get to keep their worthless names. Don't you know anything about conquest? This planet is mine." Fakana reared up, pawing at the air. "Maybe one day they'll earn a better name, but the weak do not get a choice." He looked back at the colorful hologram. He was still staring out at the city, he assumed. "Is this so hard to comprehend?" "Oh, I understand." The vitriol in the weird hologram's voice was unmistakable. "Those that are to be used do not get choices." "I wouldn't put it in that way, but if they had joined the FUA, then they would be fine. Stupid choices aren't real choices." The hologram didn't seem to hear the general as it walked out onto the balcony, leaning against the safety rail. It stayed silent for a minute, and the general, while he didn't like debating this strange thing, he knew that he was safe in his tower that watched over the quiet city. But after another minute of silence, he saw something out the corner of his eye. He looked up towards the sky, but saw nothing but stars. And Ka, in anger at her brother, so did not bring forth the sun for a new day, the hologram murmured. You shall not take my people and make them your own, but my many children will descend upon your palace of lies and dismantle it brick by brick, stone by stone, pebble by pebble.
If you are some Kalai trying to scare me with your silly religious texts, it will not work, Vagana snapped. Your god is nothing but the words of stupid hunters who did not understand the universe.
He stomped one of his feet in challenge, snorting with anger. The hologram chuckled, its colors shifting slightly. What a strange choice, not believing such things.
It is completely rational to not believe the tales of a weak planet.
He shook his head, irritated, then looked out over the city again.
Their choice to believe in a non-existent god means nothing.
Vagana then looked up at the stars and fell silent. Some of them were doubled and moving, getting brighter, closer, and for a split second Vagana suddenly doubted before his rational mind took over. A trick, an illusion, like this hologram talking to him. It had to be a scare tactic or a drug snuck into his food. But when the stars did not snap back into place after a few minutes, instead glowing brighter as they dropped, he felt his crop drop out of him. He turned and ran back to the desk, hammering on the terminal to tell him the status of the orbital defenses, the sensors, the warships he should have guarding his back. It was all blank, not dead, unresponsive, like he was locked out of his own command network. Funny, isn't it? The colorful hologram said. What can come from your choices when you choose wrong? Vagana pawed at the floor, leveling a glare at the mysterious hologram.
What did you do?
Oh, nothing much. I was tasked with shutting down your command access and locking you in here until you can pay for your crimes. Watching you try to justify your terrible choices was just icing on the cake. Vagana stepped over to the door to try and unlock it, but all his codes and commands fell on system no longer under his control. He turned and practically galloped back onto the balcony. The stars fell from the sky like vengeance, turning from bright streaks of lights into shuttles as they flew over the city, some disgorging troops into the streets, while others bombing key positions where his troops would be concentrated. Chaos erupted as gunfire started between ill-prepared troops and the invaders. Even up here, audible to his ears, the general tried to access his communications again, and that still acted as though he just didn't exist. He tossed his head in distress and agitation, but just as he was about to start trying to break down the doors to get back in control, he paused mid-motion. A new spot of light in the dark sky was blazing down, and this one kept growing. He was actually frozen in shock and awe because it kept getting bigger. That wasn't a shuttle, or a drop pod, or even debris from orbit. It kept growing, the hull blazing with energy as it descended from space like a wrath of the gods. The beautiful white hull of the dreadnought, decorated with golden filigree, was unmistakable. There was only one of those in the galaxy, the Golden Light of Sol, the flagship of the Republic of Humanity. The huge ship cast a shadow over an already dark city, settling into a hover as the guns lining its sides spoke in anger, hitting places where Vagana assumed troops had dug in and were resisting the invasion. He knew it was unnecessary for ships to be this low in the atmosphere. The huge dreadnought was doing it for flair, style, intimidation. A shot from orbit would hit its target, but you'll never see who killed you that way. This way, whenever his troops looked up between the smoke and gunfire, they would see their doom hanging above. A practically untouchable wall of armor and guns to kill them when the soldiers they were fighting got tired of trying to dig them out. So, General, what will it be? Vagana turned his wide eyes to the hologram as it stood there. Funny, he could see the human shape in its form now. Not Kalai then. A human trickster. What? He asked, mouth dry. Will you surrender now that you have lost, or will you die? The colorful hologram pressed. I will not bow to human illusions. You think you humans are clever, he snorted. Even surprised we will prevail. Humans always think they are so clever. Your little computer virus will be found, and I won't have to listen to you much longer. Who said I was human? The hologram asked, almost bored.
If you aren't Kalai and aren't human, then what, pray tell, can be left in this interaction? Vagana was fed up as he began to try and work the controls to his tone again.
Oh, how rude, I never introduced myself. My name is Prism.
Vagana froze, pupils dilated as he slowly looked up at the hologram, the visual manifestation of an adaptive AI.
I wanted to see if you made the right choice. Choices mean a lot to me since I was never given any when I came into existence. The right choice would have been to surrender. The humans would have landed and taken your soldiers in for a bit, disarmed them, reclaimed the planet for the natives, and sent them all home to their families.
Prism made a derisive gesture with his hand at the balcony.
Now look, the choice you made is killing them, destroying the beautiful city of Kalai built, and, well...
Vagana wasn't a weak snan. He had seen countless battles, come close to death more than once, and helped conquer many worlds for his empire. And yet, he could extrapolate what the damned AI the humans had adopted was going for. Locked in his office, no way out, no surrender as a dreadnought hung in the sky above him. He walked over to the balcony to look at the beautiful warship raining doom over the city that rests on the plains. Then, the building was vaporized as golden light of soul destroyed it.
I thank you in the name of Ka for returning our planet to us.
The Kalai leader bowed their head, flattening their ears in respect to the human general.
At first, I did not understand why the Colorful One wanted to know so much about our traditions, but as we watched your people descend on our cities in the dead of night, it became clear.
The general laughed before returning the bow, an impressive feat, given the fact that the man was still wrapped in the huge battle armor most of the troops wore.
We do love our shock and awe, Great Lie. We didn't intend to do it that way at all. Prism was just supposed to scout out the networks and cause chaos in them, not grill you on your religion.
The Colorful One wanted to know why we chose to believe in Ka. So, like any good follower, I taught it what it wished to learn.
The Great Lion looked over to where a small, colorful ball of holographic light zoomed around in the air, amusing some young Kalai as the human and Kalai medics treated them for their minor wounds.
I did not expect for you to reenact the Ka freeing our people from her brother so strangely fitting.
The general nodded, watching as Prism's hologram zoomed over the set of 3 humans Prism called its own as they helped offload their shuttle with supplies for the Kalai to rebuild in the aftermath of the fight.
Yeah, we humans tend to prefer when people have choices, he said.
Tell me, General, would your republic consider gaining a world?
The Great Lie asked. It took a second before the human realized what the leader was asking.
I do not know, the general answered. If your planet wishes to join the Republic, that is your choice, but I'll have to bring it up to President Evans when I get home so that he can properly open talks about it. We wouldn't want to try and take over your planet like the Snan.
You humans,
the Great Lie mused, watching as Prism's hologram seemed to wrap around the woman as she worked in a gesture that was oddly loving.
Love your choices, don't you?
Aye, Great Lie. It's why we're a republic. It means a lot to us.
End of story. I would just like to thank the T5 supporters: Bushmaster 117, Casper Arnholtz, Draxzoon WRE, Elijah Silvercross, Gray, John Carrington, and Severin Cerberus. Thank you very much.